You're listening to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast.
What smells so bad?
It's strong, but you'll get used to it. Now here's your hosts, Nick Stevenson and
buddy.
Chris Clark.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time again. Whatever time of day it is, wherever you may be listening in the world, welcome to lucky episode number 13 of the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. As always, my name's Nick Stevenson. Chris Clark's in the building. What's going on, fella?
Oh, living the dream, brother. Living the dream, brother.
Let me give you a mic first. Awesome. I'm extremely proud to introduce you guys to a very good friend of mine, Kisha Lott-Wells. How are you doing, ma'am?
I am well.
It is good to have you here. It's been a minute.
Yes, it has.
It's been a long time.
About 13 years.
13 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just about.
Wow.
Because Maddie was just a little thing last time I saw you. And let me tell you something about Kisha. I'm gonna give a little background of how we came into each other's lives. I've talked a lot about what I went through going through my first divorce and the struggles that I faced dealing with that. I've tried to be really open and honest about that. So one of the things that had to happen to me in the course of my life is I needed to be humbled a little bit. So I'm going to go back to about 2008.
Okay.
I'm fresh out of a divorce. I've dealt with some mental health issues, as I've documented in here before. And my mother, at the same time, got cancer. So I resigned from the job that I was doing for the phone company at the time. And I moved my way down to Lamarck, Texas City. I was still struggling a little bit, but I was trying to make that come up.
Yeah.
Now, I got to do something to make a living, right? Through that process, what I found is that I wasn't going to be able to find anything similar to what I had been doing. So I went to the local McDonald's on the corner from where I lived. It was within walking distance because I don't even remember if I had a vehicle at the time. I was rock bottom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was started from the bottom. Now we here. That's where I was at.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, and this is something that happens often, there's a lot of people who would look at a job at McDonald's and look down on that. Like,
Of course.
oh man, I'm taking a step back.
Yeah.
I'm doing something that I never felt like I should have done. But I put on a suit. I didn't put on a suit. Did I put on a suit?
You were clean.
I had a tie.
Yeah, he was clean.
I put on a tie. I walked in there.
Typical Nick fashion.
Yes.
Like,
I had the
believe
shiny.
that 100%.
I put the shiny shoes on. You know.
Yeah,
I was
you
gonna
did.
show them that I was serious about this.
Okay.
Even though I have to be honest, man, there was a part of me in the back of my mind that's like, I can't believe I'm going to McDonald's looking for a job.
Of course.
Well, I walk in, and here, standing before me, is a woman dressed just as clean as me.
Okay.
She's got, she's got the McDonald's uniform on, but she's got the little tie or the little scarf that goes with it. Hair done, got the nail. I'm like, okay, this is real.
Yeah.
So we have this interview, and I try to present my best self, even though I'm going to be honest with you, I was not my best self at that time in my life. And Kisha saw something in me, that potential that maybe I hadn't even realized yet. So she brings me on, and I'm a shift manager there. Okay, it's really, like I said, it's really easy to look down, I'm working at McDonald's. If you are frustrated with McDonald's when you go in there, that's because a lot of folks don't run it the way it's supposed to be run.
Exactly. That's facts. I hate
A
McDonald's
lot of
now.
people do not run that thing like it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But let me tell you about Miss Kisha. That's what I know her as. That's what everybody called her, Miss Kisha. You didn't call her out of any other name but Miss Kisha, right? She ran that place like it was a Fortune 500 company. Meticulous, every detail, nothing was missed.
So I'm just going to stop you there for a second.
Go for it.
Nick told me this story in the truck yesterday. Not yesterday, a couple days ago.
Yeah, a few days ago.
And I'm looking at this dude like he's crazy. Those were his exact words. She ran McDonald's like a Fortune 500 company.
Facts.
Like took so much pride. And that was about the only thing that I've heard of you. And I was like, I am so excited to meet this person.
Because if you know Chris, that's his jam. This is the hype gorilla right here.
Yeah.
He is about going 100 on everything.
On everything. Yes.
On everything. It don't matter what it is.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you look at his backyard later, and it'll be the perfect testament. You've been doing that for what, 2 months?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
this dude is always busy and moving and doing something. And that's why I needed somebody like him in my life. And so that's what I was presented when I first got there.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, man, I was going through stuff, and I would bring what was going on at home to work.
Yeah.
And Kisha would see me and be like, "Yo, where's that person I saw in the interview?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where's that
Yes.
at?" Because I know that is your potential. That's what's in you. And I was just struggling at the time, man. And I told him this story. I'm never gonna forget this. Keisha loved when it got busy. That was when it was ready.
Yeah.
She'd be standing up front, she's dancing, she's ready to go. And we getting this stuff, we're moving all this food out
Yeah.
there. You know, there could be 20 deep in the drive-through, about 40 deep in the lobby. She didn't care. We was getting it done, right?
Facts.
And I'm being my Nick self that day, dragging, getting frustrated. Bro, I'm telling you, in the middle of the most busy time you can think of, she goes, "Nick, stop. Come with me." I don't remember who you grabbed. It might have been your sister. Like, "Hey, come take care of this line real quick." She's like, "Nick, come with me." Bro, we go outside. There's a table sitting where the drive-thru lets out. We go outside. She's like, "Come here, sit down." And she grabs both my hands, and I'm like, "What is going on?" And she starts praying.
Yeah.
And she's testifying, right? And she starts praying over me. She knew something needed to shift, right?
Of course. Yeah.
So she says a prayer, and at first I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention to what she's saying. I'm like, I can't believe we're doing this in the drive-thru right now. But hey, Kisha did not care. Okay.
Yeah.
So she finished praying. She looks up at me and she's like, "You good?" She's like, "All right, let's go do this." And I was like, snap. From that,
incredible.
and from that time, I was like, okay, I gotta handle my business now,
course,
right?
Of course, yeah.
But that's just how Kisha was. She was always positive, motivational.
It's incredible.
You know, if you were slipping up, she was gonna tell you. And I just knew Kisha, and that's what I want to get into, because when I'm working there, and even though I was going through everything I was going through, I was like, Keisha's built for something other than this.
Wow.
This ain't what she was built for. I mean, you're doing a wonderful job, don't get me wrong, and you were handling your business. But I was like, this woman was built to do something else than run a McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's for damn sure.
How long were y'all there together?
Almost 2 years.
It was
about
wild.
2 years. Yeah. Okay. I want to tell this story too, because I eventually ended up going back to the phone company.
Yep, he sure did.
And once I found out that I was going back, I'm gonna be completely honest. Like, I started slipping. I started slipping.
He did.
And I didn't tell her yet because I was waiting to put in a 2-week notice. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm about like a week from putting in a 2-week notice. And Keisha's like, "Yo, Nick, I gotta talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "We go in the little play area." She's like, "I'm letting you go." And I was like, "Wait a minute, Kisha." I was like, hold up. I was like, okay. I was like, "Look, Kisha, I was gonna put in a 2-week notice in a week." Because I was like, "Is it okay if you just let me resign?" And she's like, "No, I'm firing you." She's like, "But I love you. You're gonna be good."
It was. We talked for like 20 minutes and we laughed, and it was you always have to have a person with you.
Of
when
course.
you
Yeah.
terminate. When Nick left, the person that was with me was like, "I hope if I ever get fired, I get fired that way." Because like we laughed and we joked and it was
right?
cool.
Yeah,
It was business.
She was like, she's like, "I already knew you was probably leaving because I could, I was slipping.
Of course.
I probably called out a couple of times." She's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have to let you go."
Yeah.
I'm like, "You gonna let me resign?" "No, I'm firing you."
I had to fire him.
That's awesome.
Oh man, but that experience was a part of my growth. Like I tell people all the time, Kisha, you're only like 2 years older than me, but you had so much life and experience up to that point that I hadn't experienced yet. I told Kisha the other day, there's 2 people who are in my age range that I look up to. My wife, and she's the another one, man, because I just saw the passion and the work and the effort. And even though you were going through stuff at that time in your life. And the difference between me and her is when she walked in that building, you would not have a clue that she was going through anything that she was going through.
Wow.
I think that's why, like I said, you were built to do something else. And I always knew when we parted ways that was not your mission in life. You was gonna move on to do bigger things. And so that's what I want to talk about. So after you left, because I'm sure you felt the same thing, like this is not my final spot. You knew it was a springboard towards something else.
Eventually I did.
Right.
At the time, I just needed a job.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
And then when you have a job, I believe whatever you do, you need to give your all, like you say you are. So I just gave my all to it, and it ended up working out for me. So I didn't know that it was something different. I actually ended up doing something different through my current husband.
Okay.
Because he saw the same thing. He was like, when he married me, I was working at McDonald's. I was a store manager, but he was like, "That's cool, but my wife ain't no manager.
Yeah.
But he never told me that.
Yeah.
Once I started progressing and getting a different opportunity, and I got an opportunity from working at McDonald's. Somebody came in, a district manager over a corporation, saw me working.
Yeah.
Really?
And he sold me. That's how I left McDonald's.
Wow.
He saw me and he
That's
sold me.
incredible.
If you would have been there to witness it, bro, like he was getting your food on time and it was fresh.
With no attitude.
Yeah.
With no attitude. That's my problem with McDonald's now.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't run it like that. What is
Yeah,
wrong with y'all?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because Kisha was probably the only person in that building who deep down inside probably wasn't thinking less of this job.
Yeah.
Not at
Like
all.
Kisha, she took pride in everything that she did, down to sweeping the parking lot.
Yep.
Like, I mean, everything.
It's incredible.
So when I was working with you at McDonald's, I remember you wanted to start a record label.
Yes, and you were supposed to be a part of it.
Yes. And
He was.
I was going through some stuff. I wrote a few songs because this is what the plan was. Keisha always wanted to help young people.
Yep.
Okay. She's a woman of faith. That's a large part of everything that she does. She's like, young kids are not really listening to gospel music because it's old, it's boring.
Yeah.
She's like, so let's bring the young kids something that's more like the stuff they like to listen to.
Yeah.
This was in 2008, 2009.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was
there's
wild.
like a gospel hip hop station on the radio
Exactly.
now.
But we already knew. We already knew.
This was not even a thought.
Yeah.
Nope.
And when I heard that station existed, I text Keisha, I'm like, man, you was ahead of your time.
Yep.
Because that station is popping now. Like, at the time, there was nothing like it.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is the vision that she had. I want to bring people gospel music, but in a way that young kids can get into
Yeah,
it.
of course,
and they
of
can
course.
start building morals and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So that was what her original plan was. So we put together a group of young individuals. We were writing songs. And then I figured out at some point I was not going to be able to be a part of it because of everything I had going on.
Yeah.
So I told Keisha, and she was disappointed at the time.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not going to be able to be a part of this. Let me give you the songs I've written. If anything happens with them, just make sure my name's on it, and
Yeah.
I don't need anything else from you. And I don't know if you actually used the material that I gave you at that time, but I don't know that anybody else had the same passion for it that you had. So
Right.
it ended up spinning off into what you're doing now. So
Exactly.
let's talk about what you are doing now. Your company is Dynamic Lyrics.
Dynamic lyrics.
Okay, and what is Dynamic Lyrics all about?
Well, dynamic lyrics, the definition of dynamic is a force that stimulates change.
Mm-hmm.
So I use my lyrics to stimulate change.
Right.
Stimulate a change of thought process.
Okay,
Because
okay.
nobody can change a person.
Of course.
But if you sow a seed, it may trigger a change in the way you're thinking.
Yeah.
And if you change the way you think, you can change your life.
Of course.
And so that's what dynamic lyrics is about. And so I use it in different aspects: poetry, book writing,
Okay.
motivational speaking, songwriting, anything that has to do with words is under my umbrella.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Which is not a surprise. Like I said, if you know Keisha,
Yeah.
she's going to speak her truth.
Yeah, I am. That's one thing I'm very grateful for, that I've always felt comfortable in being my truth.
Right.
Whether it was the wrong truth or
Of
the
course.
right truth.
Yeah.
I've always been comfortable in being that. And that's what happened with our group. As he was saying, it was supposed to be a bunch of us young, because we was like in our 20s. We were young, 25.
Yeah.
We were young. We was in our 20s when this happened. And then we had the other people that was part of it. They was like 18, 19. And like he
People?
said,
Yeah.
that
Okay.
was part of
Okay.
the original
Gotcha.
vision.
Okay.
But we all had our own path, and everybody went their own way. I was supposed to do this.
Right.
I was
Okay.
supposed to do this when it come down to lyrics.
Gotcha.
But I didn't. But honestly, I didn't have enough confidence in my own self to be able to do it by myself. So I was like, I need all of y'all. Y'all come help me do it.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're gifted, they're talented. I don't know if you still sing, but have you ever heard him sing? He is incredible.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
I mean, like,
Every time he gets on, he'll put a clip on the
I bet he
soundboard.
do.
But hey, that's Nick singing. Like that's Nick singing right there.
I mean, he can sing at work.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Always had a passion for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's very telling what you just said, though, because everybody had their own path, and it just wasn't my time. As much as I wanted to make it happen, it wasn't my time. You know, I talked about early when we started this podcast, I'm a person who gets a lot of self-doubt.
Yes.
And
We all do.
Yeah, all of us do. And my self-doubt at that time was limiting my belief that I was going to be able to create what your vision was. And so, and this is the first time I've actually heard you say, like, I had self-doubt that I needed y'all too. Because
Yeah.
the person I see before me, I would have never thought that. I'd have never thought, oh, Kisha needs us. Kisha was like the anchor. She was what we was all holding on to. Like we would go to her house and arrange all of this stuff. And she was the engine that ran everything. So it's funny that you say that now because I'd have never thought that.
Yeah. And that's crazy because that's a lot of misconceptions a lot of people have. Just because a person is strong doesn't mean they don't need people.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah. And so even though I had this big old vision, just like with you guys, you still need each other.
Absolutely.
And for me, my self-doubt was I was looking at everybody else's talents and gifts. And I'm like, okay, I'm the manager. So let me let them do their thing.
That's exactly how I operate.
Yeah,
So I have 3 different endeavors. We have an air filter subscription service. My brother runs the technical side of it. I know the filters. I know the products. I know the manufacturing and distribution side of it.
Right.
But as far as like technicalities and stuff like that, that's all him.
Exactly.
I don't know anything about it. And with our coffee company, we have 5 people who delegate, different tasks to. I personally couldn't do everything all at one time and run 3 different endeavors. Like with this.
Right.
I'll tell Nick every single time we do this. He's like, guess who else is in the building? I'm like, dude, you're giving me way too much credit. I show up at your house, sit my butt in this chair, and talk to you for an hour. As far as like this goes, man, this is 90% Nick and 10% Chris.
Awesome.
Like what I'm trying to do with this, Kisha, and don't let Chris minimize his role on this show.
I know exactly what he's saying. I got him.
But what I've tried to do with this is realize that potential that I knew that I had, the potential you saw in me, that I just needed to let come out.
Exactly.
I've always had a creative bone in my body.
Exactly.
You know this.
Exactly.
And it was always a question of how am I going to utilize it to the best of my ability and make my imprint on this world.
Right, which is the same thing what I did. It's the same principle. I thought it was a record label. No, my imprint is dynamic lyrics.
There you go.
Your imprint is the podcast.
Yeah.
Right.
Your imprint is managing.
Yeah.
So all of us, we have our place. And once we find our element, we're unstoppable.
Yeah,
and that's why so many things are happening for me now because I'm flowing in my element.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
It is what it is.
So you are a woman of many hats. You own this dynamic lyrics. You've also an author.
Right.
I think we said your bio would be an author, a poet, a motivational speaker, and a loving mother and wife, which that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah, them my peeps.
That's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a little bit what all that entails and what you do. So you have the dynamic lyrics, but you've also written 4 books.
Yes.
Technically 4 books. 3 of them are in circulation.
Yes.
Okay. And your first book was a learning experience.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not even going to mention it by name, but you tell the audience what your young experience in this whole game taught you about the process of book writing and publishing.
Right. Anything with your art, especially in this culture, don't take the first deal. Never.
Okay.
Or don't take the deal in desperation.
Right.
Because when you're desperate, you'll do anything.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when I wrote my first book, it was fresh out of divorce. I was trying to understand. And that's why I understood, what you was going through because I was going fresh out of divorce.
Yeah.
And I wanted to understand why did our marriage fail. Not from the aspect of what he did wrong, what I did wrong.
Of course.
Because
Right.
I believed I was supposed to be married. So when I got married again, I didn't want to be divorced.
Of course.
So I did my research. I began to research and ask men, like, why do y'all cheat? Why did this happen? How do you feel when your woman talked to you a certain way? And men told me their honest truth. Who am I? I wasn't nobody they were sleeping with or their wives, so they was able to tell me the truth.
Right.
So I wrote a book based off that. And in the book, I gave I took a woman's voice, but gave the perspective of how men feel when we treat them a certain way.
Okay. Right.
And how it can end up in a divorce. And I remember dedicating my book to my ex-husband. I just said, hopefully that people will read our book and learn from it.
Yeah.
And then their marriage be successful. Well, after writing the book, I ended up leaving McDonald's due to circumstances. So I was in a financial crisis. So the minute a publishing company gave me an offer, I took it.
Yeah.
Now,
Worst thing in the world.
Did they reach out to you or did you reach out to them?
A little bit of both. I
Okay.
did my research, sent my manuscript. Once
Okay.
they saw it, they was like, oh, we want it. And
Okay.
they wanted it. They wanted it, and they got like 75, 80% of royalties.
Man.
Exactly.
What?
But at the time, I wasn't thinking. All I'm thinking is,
You want to get this book out there.
I got my book published. I'm an
Yeah.
author. Yay. And then I was selling and I was doing these little book signings and things. And then I was never getting a royalty check. And once I found out why, that's when I found out. And so I stopped it.
Wow. So that was your first experience.
That makes me want to vomit.
Yeah.
That makes me want to vomit.
Do your research.
And so
do your research.
That's why we're not even going to mention the name of the book. Because
I wouldn't give them a dime.
Yeah, I don't want, because apparently it's still in circulation, but
Yes.
she's not getting what she should be getting off of. I don't know. I hope somebody hears that on this podcast who can help you out with that, because there's got to be some.
Oh, my contract is up. So I can republish the book if I want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
that was years ago. Because my contract was for 7 years. But for that 7-year period,
Okay.
And you never saw a dime from this?
Never.
Wow.
I don't even understand how that's a thing. Like, how is that legal? How can they do that?
The way they formed the contract.
Yeah, you got to read the small print, apparently.
And that's
man.
that's what a lot of artists go through even now, like the ones that sign even record deals.
Yeah.
They get like the short end of the stick because they're not reading the fine print. Because
I'm a man of great patience. But let me tell you something. Something like that was to happen to me.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be going crazy.
Yeah. Don't play with Chris's money.
No.
I was mad. I was mad.
That makes me want to throw up.
But it taught me a valuable lesson. Never do anything in desperation.
Of course.
I don't care how bad it is.
Yeah.
Wait.
Right.
Chill. Rethink. Ask for advice.
Yeah.
Do not do nothing in desperation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it's amazing because that experience, it taught you something, but it didn't scare you away from still trying to get your message out there.
Not at all.
I hope if you get a chance to republish that book, I want you to come on and talk about it because it sounds fascinating.
I will.
It sounds fascinating. So that didn't scare you away from writing, though. Let's talk about your actual books that are in circulation now. What did that experience teach you, and what did you want to accomplish with your next set of books?
Well, with my next set of books, I decided I've always wanted to tell my story. And I wanted to tell the story of teenagers because teenagers get a bad rep. And it's not fair. And that's just my heart desire. I mean, my heart belief that it is not fair, the stigma that comes with being a young generation.
Yeah.
They do not have it together. They're not supposed to. We're supposed to teach them.
Of course. Right.
And so you always hear, this is the worst generation ever. Okay, this is how I see this. That's our fault because we are responsible to train the next generation.
Oh my God.
That's
That
our
is,
fault.
Get behind that 100%.
You know,
I say that all the time.
Yeah, that's our fault. We
Everybody
can't criticize
complaining
them.
about millennials, like, who raised them?
Exactly, we did. We raised these kids, you know, so it's us.
Yeah.
And so because of that mindset, and I remember being that teenager who was misunderstood, who had the attitude, but it really wasn't attitude, it was pain. And people could never recognize that. I wanted to speak for them. So I wrote a fictional book this time. My first book was more of a little tell-all, type book. This book here was completely fictional. And I wrote it based off two perspectives. A perspective of a young girl named Manny. And this was a young girl who had a mom but had a stepfather.
Right.
Then the other young girl was Tasha, who had a mom and dad, but they divorced. And I wanted to describe the pain that kids go through when their parents is going through something.
Right.
And how parents will get so caught up in our own world, and I'm guilty of it, that we miss what it's doing to them.
Okay.
Right.
And so I wrote the fictional book, and there's a lot of nuggets in it, and it was just a little graphic.
Yeah.
And here was the thing about this. That's why I love also living in the secular world. Let me elaborate what I mean by that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be under a Christian publishing company. However, I wanted my book to describe and talk about sex, drugs, things of that nature. Not graphic, of course, but
real life stuff.
But real life stuff, because the reality is there's 17-year-olds that's having sex.
Of course.
They're drinking.
Of course.
To say everybody's in the house praying, that's a lie.
Yeah.
You know, so I didn't want to write that.
Yeah.
So I wrote it and I submitted it to a Christian publishing company, and they were like, no, you got to take this out, this out, this out.
Right.
And I almost thought about it, but I was like, no.
Yeah.
Because that's not the purpose.
Right.
So I ended up submitting it somewhere else, and it got accepted. And I got the right to write whatever I wanted. So I actually signed to a secular publishing company.
Okay.
So that I can write as rapid, as
Yeah.
vivid as I want.
Absolutely.
So in the story, basically, I described the pain and the heartache that teenagers go through. And I described how we miss it. And I described how kids can be raped, molested, all type of things that can happen to them. But my stories are not just stories of all this wrong that happens. There's still hope.
Yeah.
There's always a hope up in the story, and both of the kids get delivered. But it's just basically that.
Okay.
It's fictional stories that describes what is really going on in this youth and what we can do to help them.
Right.
And so in my stories, my whole point of telling these stories is try to get people to understand what teenagers are going through.
And though you say it's fictional, I mean, it was inspired by some real life events,
Facts.
whether it was the research from other people you talked to or your own personal experience. And that's what made it real.
Right.
So that's incredible. So we noticed kind of a theme, though, with your endeavors. Like, you always want to reach out to young people.
Yes,
And it's because of the experiences that you had as a young person.
exactly.
And, when we were talking on the phone, you were talking about the bad rap that there'll be a young girl who's promiscuous.
Right.
Maybe known as somebody who's sleeping around.
Right.
And everybody considers her a thought, right? She's a
Right.
hoe. You're one of those people who says, okay, wait a minute. Let's peel back under the surface
Why?
and see what's really going on.
Exactly.
here.
What's
Yeah.
the why?
Right.
Exactly. And that's like what my book does. Like the character Manny.
What's
She's
the
a-
why? I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
It is because like Manny, she's a fictional character. She's a thought.
Right.
Okay. But why? Why is this girl acting out like this? A young girl do not just wake up. She's daddy's little girl
Yeah.
at 10 and 9, and then she turned 12, and all of a sudden, I want to be a thought.
Yeah.
No. Something triggered that.
Yeah. Right.
And so we have to take out the time to find out what that is instead of judging them and glorifying them. And most of the time, teenagers do not talk to adults because we forget what it was like to be a teenager.
Right.
And we'll sit there and we'll condemn them and we'll put them down. But don't you remember like 10 years ago, that was
Yeah.
you?
Yeah.
And so they need that outlet. So the book, to me, gave them that outlet.
Right.
And I remember when I wrote it specifically, it was targeting teenagers. But I got more reaction from parents. Parents was like, oh my God, that was wrong with my daughter. I remember this one to this day because she posted it and I was so proud of it. She had got married and once she read my book and she saw the way Manny was acting, she said that was her daughter. And she said, I did not know this whole time she just wanted a relationship with my husband.
Yeah.
So they started building their relationship.
Wow.
Yeah, this whole time she felt like an outsider to their family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took a fictional book for a parent to see that.
That's an
crazy.
incredible feeling when you're able to put your art out and it actually affects and touches somebody else.
Yes.
And that is what I wanted to get to. So I forgot to mention the name of this book is Only 16.
Right.
That's the first one, right? And this is the story from the viewpoint of this young lady, Manny,
And Tasha.
and Tasha and the pain that they're going through. What's very telling is that you wrote it for young people and adults read it and it hit home for them.
Yes.
And they realized maybe some of the mistakes they were making in their own parenting. When you can put something out there that you see is affecting change, that's got to be a great feeling. You probably could not wait to write the next one.
Yes. I was excited.
You was ready to get, and that's, we can relate to that. When somebody reaches out to us about the podcast and
Right.
tells us, man, I cried and laughed in the same episode. Like, you just
it's an
get so ready.
incredible feeling.
Yeah,
Yes,
you get
it
so
does.
ready.
It really is.
Because you feel like you're fulfilling your purpose at
Exactly.
that point.
Exactly.
And so that is a beautiful thing about it.
So let me ask you a question just out of pure curiosity, just because I don't know anything about it. How long does it take you from start to finish to complete a book?
When I'm in my zone,
Uh-huh.
a week, maybe 2,
A week.
maybe 2.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's a gift. It's nothing
Wow.
but a gift. And because like if I write from inspiration. I'm not a person that'll sit down and like the way they teach you in school to write is write your outline,
Yeah.
write your chapters. I can't do that.
You
I
just sit down and start.
I don't even attempt to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes the ending of the book will come to me first, and I'll
Okay.
write the ending, and then I'll write the story to meet the ending.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
So that's how it happens.
That's crazy.
Awesome. That's awesome. So let's talk about Life After 16, which is the sequel to Only 16. And what was your goal once you realized you would hit your target audience, or maybe an audience that wasn't your target, but became your target audience? What was the goal for the next book, Life After 16?
Okay, Life After 16, I wanted, once I realized I really grabbed the attention of parents, I still wanted to reach the youth, but I wanted more of the attention of the parents. And my
Okay.
reasoning was because at the end of the day, let's say you are unique, you guys are talking to a young man and he's dealing with issues and you're giving him everything that he needs, but then when he go back home, he's still dealing with them issues.
Right.
So it kind of, it works, but it doesn't. So the home need to be fixed. So I figured if I can give the book, if I target more of the parents, then they will be able to see what their kids are going through, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that got to help their kids.
Of course.
We're not really their role models, even though sometimes we are, but the role model is the parent.
Right.
That's the example.
Yeah.
So I wanted to write something more adultish, but I still wanted to be able to reach the youth. And then the topic I wanted to talk about a little bit more was more of relationships and unhealthy relationships, meaning men and women. So I wanted the characters to be a little older, because I didn't want to glorify sex in you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Right. I didn't want to do that.
Of course.
And I know it happens, but that don't mean we have to glorify it.
Yeah.
And so I wrote Life After 16 was them growing up. And it was the same set of characters, because I had different characters throughout the book. But it was a different set in this book. And it was basically Judy, who was a Christian young girl, and Terrell. And Terrell was like, bad boy.
Okay.
Complete bad boy.
Yeah.
But there's a reason. He's not a bad boy for nothing. A young man do not grow up, and I believe this wholeheartedly, that men do not grow up disrespecting women for nothing.
Right.
There's something behind that. Either they've been taught, either they've seen it.
Yeah.
Something has happened. Because you can take another young man who is raised to respect a woman, to honor a woman, he'll do it.
Yeah.
So what's the difference with a man that doesn't? So I wrote that book from his perspective.
Okay.
His perspective, so people can understand why this young man was running through these girls.
Yeah.
Why this young man was calling girls out their name.
Yeah.
You say
Right.
no? I want to make sure. Can I say
Yes,
no?
yes.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah,
I want to
yeah.
make sure. I want to make sure.
Look, we toned it down for you in here.
Okay.
I told you,
okay.
like, we don't come in here acting like Richard Pryor or nothing, but
Okay.
we just let it loose. So,
Okay, just
yeah,
making
you're
sure.
good. You're good.
But yeah, so like, if a man, why do he view women as hoes?
Right.
I told why. And in the book, it was his mom.
Really?
The things she was doing.
Right.
And she had no clue what she was doing to her son. Watching his mom be with different men and stuff. She had no clue. And she justified her behavior with what we adults do. I'm grown.
Right.
Not realizing just because you're grown doesn't mean that you should just do whatever you want to do without concern of what that may do to your
Of
child.
course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Your children
of
are
course.
watching.
They're watching everything.
They're
So
watching.
she was destroying her son and had no clue.
Wow.
But it's in there. It's in there.
Yeah.
It's in there.
So probably some people who read that, and that was a hard truth for them to swallow. Like, once again, just like in the first book, like, damn, that's me. That's a difficult thing to do. But once again, that's the purpose of your art. It's to reach down and grab people and maybe shake them up a little bit.
Yes, and not judgmental.
Yeah,
not at all.
absolutely.
Because I could never judge a woman or a person. My story too graphic to judge anybody.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So no, I have no place to. That's why I write, because I want them to understand there's some person that I understand. So I'm not judging you,
Yeah.
but just because I understand doesn't mean we don't need to change it.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
You know, we need to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I believe society does a lot, except for it's getting better because mental health has became on the forefront. We're taught to just smother it.
Yeah.
No, deal with it.
Yeah.
Because eventually it's going to come up. And so that's why I write in a fictional voice. That way it's not condemning. You know,
Right.
I make it maybe more elaborate than what will really happen,
Right.
so that I don't ever want a person to feel judged or condemned,
Right.
because I'm not. I just want us to think.
Right.
Okay, maybe I'm the reason. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I just need to pay them some more attention. There's a reason behind everything. I just
Absolutely.
believe that. So
Yeah, and you're coming from a place of understanding.
exactly.
I'm not making this up. Like, this is coming from somewhere.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And then in that book also, I talked, it's two parts of that book, because every book has 2 volumes.
Okay.
Okay.
One story, another story. So in that book, once Terrell grows up, he's dealing with women differently.
Okay.
However, I wanted to deal with the perspective of women. For some reason, society has made us believe that women are enemies to each other. What I mean by that is, if a man cheats on his wife, then that woman does not feel any type of way that she slept with another woman's husband. She feel like the better woman. Like, you wasn't doing the right thing.
Yeah.
The woman that got hurt is blamed.
Right.
And that's the way society does it. If you watch TV, you watch Maury, when a woman come out, her wife, there's the wife and there's the mistress. The mistress is saying, man, you wasn't doing your job. If you wasn't doing what you were supposed to do, all this other stuff, he wouldn't have been over there.
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
that's a lie. So I've done my research. I've asked men, I've asked them, and I always get the same answer. Why do men do that to women? And they always say the same thing. Because we let them. We
Yeah.
let them. A man would cheat on his wife with a woman because the woman let him. It's not because his wife wasn't good. It was not because his wife was the scum of the earth. It wasn't that the woman was better, because the woman said yes. So we need to shift that mindset of I'm the better woman because I stole some woman's husband. No, you're not.
Yeah.
That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And so in that book, I described that. I describe how Terrell picks a woman because she has morals, because she has standards, and then the real reason why a man will marry a woman in the first place. You know?
Yeah, of course.
You know, so I put that in there, and I throw it in a way where nobody's being judged. Just an aha moment, like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be that woman that's okay with sleeping with another woman's husband.
Yeah.
Right.
Are okay with a man just using me for my body.
Yeah.
No, it's not okay.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't make me the better woman.
Yeah.
It
Right.
doesn't. And that's what so it's like little nuggets like that
Yeah.
that's in there, but it's in a fictional
And
story.
also the women who are getting cheated on have got to stop blaming
Yes,
the other
it ain't-
woman and not holding
Come
their
on now,
partner
it ain't,
accountable.
come on now, it ain't the other woman's fault either.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
Yeah.
That's a choice, and
Absolutely.
that's my whole MO when it comes down, like I said, to that book, because there's always different reasons and revelations in it.
Yeah.
But also that was my whole MO for women to stop fighting with each other. Don't fight with another woman. For what? We're not enemies.
Yeah.
Because if we partner together, then men wouldn't be able to do half of the stuff they do.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So
That's fascinating. And so Life After 16, When the Tables Turn is part 3 of this
Yeah.
3-part series. Where does the story go from there? And what did you want to accomplish with that third book?
Okay, Life After 16 is the conclusion of the series. And basically it goes all the way back to Only 16. Only 16, there was a mom in the book. That was Tasha's mom. And her name was Shelly. And Shelly got drugged by Tasha's dad. He dogged her bad. But she recovered. Well, now that she has recovered, she's in a position where Tasha's dad now needs her. So what's she gonna do? And so the message behind that book is when the tables turn, because it always do.
Yeah.
Right.
You always reap what you sow. I don't
Right.
care how long it take. Some people call it karma. Whatever you want to call it, it's going to happen.
Right.
So when them tables turn and the people that have hurt you the worst, and you got the opportunity to hurt them or help them, what you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were all faced with that at some point. I can
yes.
tell you from experience, I've been faced with that.
Every last one of us has. What are we going to
What
do?
are you going to do? Is that the time where you're going to be like, oh, I got you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to show you karma. I'm going to beat karma. It takes a very strong person not to go there.
It sure does.
I'm telling you from experience, Kisha.
Trust me.
We got a lot of catching up to do. But
Trust me. I know.
I'm going to tell you from experience.
I know.
And so in this book, this is a situation where you say that Shelly was abused by her husband through the course of time. Now the husband who was abusing her needed something from
Needs her.
And she had to
And
make a choice.
Needs her with the child he had on her.
Okay.
While they was married.
Outside of their relationship.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
deep. It's deep.
That
This stuff
take
happens
a
every day.
lot. That take a lot of prayer, Kisha, for most women. I'm gonna tell you right now.
Yeah, a lot of women are dealing with it every day.
Yeah.
But it's not a sob story. Don't feel sorry for Shelly.
Right.
Shelly a beast.
Yeah.
Because one thing is for sure, when you do the right thing consistently, you always come on top.
Yeah.
Always.
I love that.
So
Yes.
it's
I love
a
that.
lot of nuggets up in there
Yeah.
for just to encourage people, because we live in a society where you give back.
Of course.
You know, somebody do something to you, you get back.
Yeah.
Okay, but if you're getting back, now you're sowing those seeds that
Right.
you're eventually going to have to reap. But if you can remain, and I'm not saying it's easy, remain the bigger person, the better person, not better than, but better with your choices.
Right.
You're going to win.
Yeah.
And she winning. She's
Right.
winning.
That's awesome.
She's winning.
All right. I'm gonna get this book. All 3 of them.
Yay.
It will be. I'm intrigued now that we've talked about it. So how do we get our hands on these books?
Well, you can get them on Amazon, and you can order them. They're all available on Amazon. And
Okay.
then I also have them personally. So if you're following me on Facebook, PoetLadiKi Wells,
Write it down. Write it down. Okay. So
I think. I just
is
went
it
blank.
is it available in ebook as well?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes,
they can
it's
get-
available on Kindle. You can get it on Kindle.
Okay.
You can get it directly from me. I'll mail it to them, or they can just order it on Amazon.
Can they order it all 3 together in a series, or do they have to order?
Well, you can.
Can you get it in a bundle?
I don't think they sell them in bundles, but yeah,
Okay.
you can order 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
They're all
And so
available.
it's only 16, Life After 16, and then Life After 16, when the tables turn.
A little bit, yeah. The second one is life after 16. Love, lust, betrayal, and forgiveness.
Okay. The third is life after 16.
When the tables turn. Because they're going to turn.
Okay.
I don't care who you are, they're going to turn.
I am very intrigued. I know that the audience probably is intrigued as well. Go check it out, guys. There might be a little bit of painful truth about yourself in there. Keisha, I
But
told
some
you.
people might need to hear that, man.
Absolutely.
Like for real. That's
And Keisha, when we were talking, when we were show prepping a little bit, one of the things that Chris and I have noticed on social media is a lot of women lamenting, oh, there's no good men out there.
That's not true.
But then you look and you scroll a little bit and you see the energy they're putting out and you understand a little bit why they're having such a difficult time.
oh yeah.
It would have been really easy for you. You've been married now for 8 years. And with everything that you've gone through, it would have been really easy for you to be on that same level. Oh, all y'all ain't shit. Like, and going through this whole thing. I want you to talk a little bit, because we could say it all day long, but I'm not a woman. Chris isn't a woman. We've never experienced what they're going through. I want you to talk about just a little bit about what you had to do within yourself.
Exactly.
Before you got to the point that you are at now.
Because that's what it was. It was myself. It had nothing to do with the man. And first, let me address that men ain't doo-doo thing.
Right.
That is justifiable in that woman's eyes, because if you have went through pain after pain after pain, then that's pretty much what you see.
Yeah,
so
of course.
And I understand that, because
That's
I've been
you speaking your truth.
Yes, it's just, it is what it is. My first 20-some years of my life, I hated men.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize, but my pain started way before a boyfriend. That's, you never know, that woman may have an experience with her father, with an uncle, with a brother. You never know.
Yeah.
So you can't minimize the fact that in her mind, they ain't doo-doo, because probably the men that's been in her life wasn't doo-doo, and still ain't. You know. However, what I believe is in accountability. So when I was 27 years old, I sat myself down and I made myself accountable to myself. It wasn't about a man. Certain things I was not doing, not for a man, for me. And I rose my standards. And so once I rose my standards, if the man didn't meet my standards, I wasn't giving him the time of day.
Right.
And that's what has to shift.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be men that ain't doo-doo. Just like there are always going to be women that ain't doo-doo.
Right.
So then we have to change who we are so we can project a different energy so that we'll get somebody that's on the same level as us.
Yeah.
Because you can't be giving out doo-doo.
Of course.
And then expecting to get roses.
Yes.
It ain't
And you
happen.
gotta, that is completely on par with this message I've been trying to push even for the last several weeks. You gotta fall in love with yourself.
Facts.
Before somebody else is gonna fall in
Let me
love
tell you
with
how
you.
powerful that is. And I believe in that. In a lot of my poems, they have messages in that. You cannot love somebody if you don't love yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, you're going to take something that ain't love. Because if you love yourself first, you're going to say, no, I ain't going to let you talk to me like that.
Absolutely.
I love me too much to let you disrespect me.
Absolutely.
I love me too much to let you come sleep up in my bed and you ain't committed to me.
Right.
So that's first before anything.
Yeah.
So before I met my current husband, that's the transformation that went on. I sat down. I held myself accountable. I analyzed everything that I had did, not what somebody else had did to me, because it doesn't matter what they did.
Right.
It was what I was doing to myself.
Absolutely.
And I spent some time to fall in love with myself, fall in love with God, fall in love with me. So when I met somebody, I was full of love, so now I can share my love with
And you were ready.
Yeah,
That
I
was
was
the
ready
point.
for 'em.
These women are not ready yet. And it's okay. We've all been there. Trust me.
Facts.
It was impossible for my wife. I would have never been able to have somebody fall in love with me if I remained the shell of myself
Come
that I
on,
was.
you better say that again.
Thank you.
I believe that.
When I was the shell of myself that you knew at that time, I was not ready. And of course, I was out there looking in all the wrong places. I was not ready yet.
Exactly.
And so, just like it's important, you say it's impossible to love someone else if you don't love yourself. It is impossible for that person to love you if you don't love yourself.
Because it drains
Because
them.
everything they give you is never going to be enough to fulfill
and it
that
drains
void.
them.
Yeah.
And eventually people get tired because they're not, we are existed to vibe off each other, not fulfill each other.
Yeah.
That's not our, and so when you put a mandate on somebody to fulfill something for you, that puts too much pressure on that person and that can break them. And that's why people will leave you.
Right.
Like it's a word that they said, it costs too much to love you.
Right.
And that's true. When you don't love yourself, it costs another person too much to love you because now you're taking from them and you're taking from them. And as they're giving to you, you're rejecting them and you're hurting them. And there's some women and men where they have a good person and this person is being good to them, but they don't love themselves. So they're rejecting everything that they're doing to them. They'll be saying something nice to them and they'll take it the wrong way.
Right. And then as soon as and as soon as that person leaves, they've yet to be accountable and self-aware, so they're gonna blame it. Oh, that person wasn't shit,
and that ain't true.
It's not true.
That's not true.
That's why I always preach: love yourself. Be honest with yourself. Be honest about what you did in those situations. Maybe you felt like when that person left, you did everything right, but if you take a real assessment,
there was a lot that you did wrong.
Right. Yes. And it's never just one person.
Never. I don't care who it is. It always takes two to make a relationship work, and it takes two to make a relationship break. Okay. That's the way they go.
Right.
And even that's why I like with my first book, that's what I did. Me and my ex-husband was married for almost 8 years. We have children together. We were young. I don't sit back and say, oh my God, he did this. No, I sat down and just said, what did I do to him?
Right.
Because I wanted to be
This is the discussion you had with your current husband.
My current husband? No.
Did you talk about that with him?
Oh yes, when during our dating phase, we laid it all out.
I tell people all the time, if somebody is talking to you about their previous relationship and everything they're saying is what the other person did wrong, they're lying to you.
They're lying. There's always two sides to every story.
They're lying to you.
They're always. And that's what me and my husband, my current husband, our first conversation was about that.
Get it out there.
I said, I sat down and figured out what I did wrong. And it was funny because he was like, so what was wrong with you? I was like, man, I was thirsty. He started laughing. Just to be honest. I'm really
get it out there. That's what I'm talking about.
I wanted some love. I was seeking attention. So I love being complimented and all that extra stuff.
Right.
You can't be like that if you're going to be with somebody. Yeah. So I had to take care of me. Once I took care of me and got me right, my mind right, my standards, what I wasn't going to take, what I wasn't going to do, it had absolutely nothing to do with my husband. It was a me thing. And so when he met me, I matched what he was looking for. He was looking for a woman. One of the things he said, it was so funny. He said he always wanted his woman to handle men way before she met him. He didn't want me to get with him and now don't talk to me now. I need to already have that standard with him.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
And so that's the thing that I believe, and I could be wrong, but it's my truth. So this is my truth.
Yes,
I
speak
believe
it.
that when men, real men, because there's some dogs out there, it is what it is. But when real men are looking for a woman, they have in their mind what they already want.
Absolutely.
And so when you stroll on Facebook and you be like, oh, she's pretty. Okay, she's talking good. But then she's saying, man, I'm horny. You lost him.
Skip.
Yeah.
Right then, you lost him. That's all he see. Now he forgot the fact that you're educated. He don't care that you own your own home. All he see, you're horny.
Right.
Because he don't want his wife to be putting it on blast that she's horny.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah. And
amen.
So, it is what it is.
I'm so glad that you're here to speak this because coming from you, it's going to hit on a totally different level.
Yeah, because I'm not judging them.
Right. And we could, first of all, this applies to men and women. But if we address women on this matter, it's going to fall on deaf ears 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Even though what we might be saying the exact same thing in you, but you're a woman who's been through it.
Yeah,
You've experienced it. And the thing is what you did not do also is allow your negative experiences to make you a cynic. You fell in love with yourself, and then you became open to the possibility of loving somebody again because you wasn't worried about getting hurt. Because you knew even if you got hurt again, you was good.
You better say that again. You better say it
even
again.
if it was not going to hurt you the same way it did last time before you loved yourself.
Not at all.
You was at a point where if you went out there and you put yourself out on that limb and it didn't work out, you knew you was still going to be straight.
Because the way I believed, and I still believe today, and my husband is proof of it. We have that's my best friend. That's my boo. That's my baby. Yes. But I believe to this day, I believe you get what you give out.
Absolutely.
So I firmly believed that because I was giving out the energy and the seeds of integrity, standards, loyalty, that's what I was going to get.
Of course.
And I make, even to this day, 8 years later, I haven't changed from that standard.
Yes.
I'm not doing hitting things. I'm not saying things that I ain't got no business to people. Because if you give that out, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So you can't be a person, and I'm not talking about just a woman, a man or a woman, that's doing these little side conversations, but then expect somebody to be faithful to you.
Right.
That's not how that works.
Amen.
And I don't know why we live in that that false reality. It does not work like that.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be a person who is hurting others and then expect the person that you fall in love with to love you.
Yeah.
It don't work like that. But that goes back to self-love. Because if you love you, you ain't gonna want to hurt nobody else.
Absolutely.
Your heart gonna be compassionate.
Right.
You're gonna think twice. Things that I've always said, like I live myself by a principle with my husband is I never do nothing that I couldn't honestly tell him I could do it, that I did it. That's the easiest way to do it. Could
100.
I tell him if I did something, would I be comfortable saying this to him? Baby, I did this to you.
100.
Would I be comfortable bringing that kind of pain to his life? No. So don't do it.
Right.
But that's because I love me.
Right.
And I'm not going to hurt me because hurting him is hurting me. So.
She's dropping wisdom on us, man.
Man,
I'm telling you.
I'm just-
Imagine
mind
making a
is
double cheeseburger with that in you right here.
Yeah, we used to have some rap sessions. Like that.
But that's a beautiful thing. And so we can already see how fluid and articulate you are with your words. So it should be no surprise that one of your passions is putting those words into art form in the form of poetry and motivational speaking. So I want to talk a little bit more about dynamic lyrics. When you got into it, what was the main motivation? How did it switch from doing music to poetry to motivational speaking?
Dynamic lyrics, when it came down to the poetry aspect, starting in church. I'll never forget. My pastor, it was her birthday, and I was broke. And so everybody, you give to the woman of God on their birthday. So I didn't have any money, so I said, maybe I can give her some words. So I wrote this beautiful poem about her, and I gave them to her, and they was like, no, you got to say it. So I said it, and it just told the church up.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it told the church up. And so it started from there. So I just continued. People just asked me, like, do poems at their weddings, like little things.
Yeah.
Well, one day I heard of this poet named Seven.
Okay.
Oh, my goodness. I heard of this poet named Seven, and I started, like, following him and listening to him. And I finally went out to see him spit. We call him poetry.
Right.
And it ended up being an open mic. So I went on and did it, but I did it with a paper. I
Right,
was nervous.
right.
It was my
Yeah,
first time.
of course.
And so I watched him, and I saw how he used spoken word to help people.
Yes.
And I did it only in the church. So I said, okay, let me step out. So I started remembering my poems, and I started stepping out doing open mics. And and I love it. I'm not even going to deny it. I love spoken word outside the church way more than I do inside the church. And the reason is because it's like with this podcast, there's no censor.
Yeah.
Right.
So you can say
Yeah.
what you want to say
Right.
without being concerned that somebody, if you get offended, oh well.
Right.
I'm an artist, and we
Yes.
are sensitive about our, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that arena.
Yeah.
And so eventually I was able to be a part of this show called The Queens of the Mic.
Okay.
And it was my first debut at a theater, and it was wonderful, and I loved it. And ever since then, I've been doing shows, and I'll do a show and then get another one and get another one. Like, I'm booked all the way up to May as of right now.
Wow.
So I'm excited.
Yeah,
about
I've
it.
seen you do your thing, and it was no surprise to me. And when we get a chance, I know you have a few videos on YouTube, right?
Well, I need to do YouTube. I got them on Facebook.
You have them on Facebook.
I'm gonna do a YouTube channel though. Everybody keep telling me to do that.
What we're gonna do once we put this episode out, we'll throw up a link to your videos because I want people to see. Now, like I said, I'm hoping you're gonna give us a little taste.
I would.
Have you ever been surprised at the fact that like you even remembered what you just said, or like when I watch you, I can see like it's almost, and I hate to get like spiritual, but it's like you're just an instrument at that point,
Right.
And somebody is playing through you.
Facts.
And when I see it, dude, it's just it kind of gives me chills a little bit. And you know me, like I'm nowhere near as heavy as a religious person as I used to be.
Me neither. I don't want to be.
Yeah, but there's this spiritual aspect to it when you see somebody performing their art and the words are coming out so flawlessly and beautifully, man. I really want to, I'm glad you're going to share with us, and I definitely want to put people on to what you're doing. You got a show coming up later this month, right?
Got two
of
this
them?
month. One on the 20th and one on the 28th, and I have tickets for them or whatever. But yeah, but so
How do people get tickets?
Huh?
How do people get tickets?
Either through Cash App or
They can contact
me.
you? Okay.
Either-
We'll throw
either
up a
one.
link for that too.
yes.
But the first thing I want to do is give people a little bit of a taste of what they're going to run into when they come see
PoetLadiKi.
PoetLadiKi.
Let me tell you why is that. It's funny. To me, it is. Well, I like to be a lady. So whenever I do my shows, I dress up like
Yes.
a little princess girl or whatever.
Very nice.
And so I want be presented as a lady.
I get this like Erykah Badu vibe.
Yes, you
on
better
stage.
say
Give me
that.
some.
Yes, Lauren
That's
Hill.
the
Those
vibe.
are
Yes,
my,
yes,
whew,
yes.
Those are my mentors. They don't even know it yet. Y'all my
Yes.
mentors. Yes, but I want to be presented as a lady because at the end of the day, I'm a wife. I'm a mother, so I have to represent my family. I would
Absolutely.
never ever bring shame to my husband's name or my children's name.
Yeah.
So I'm a lady. However, when I open my mouth, I'm a beast. So
Yeah, buddy.
that's
I
the
love
whole
that.
energy of it.
I love that.
That's
All
the
right.
energy of it.
So you want to break us off a little piece, a little taste of what PoetLadiKi has got in store?
Sure.
Okay.
Let's see
Now,
which one I'll
you
do.
said you don't need no music or nothing behind this, right? Okay. What I'm going to do, I'm going to give you all the attention. I'm going to mute our mics real quick. All right. This is PoetLadiKi with a poem called Who Am I? Take it away.
All right. This poem is dedicated, basically, it was during the time when I found myself. As I mentioned in the podcast, I had to fall in love with me before I could fall in love with someone else. So to find yourself and to love yourself, you must know yourself. So that's what this poem is about. Who am I? I am me. Dynamic lyricist, poetic flautist, anointed psalmist, deliverer of prophecy. Who am I? I am me, Kisha Wells. I do because of whom and whose I am, not I am based off what I do. I am a businesswoman. When I step on the scene, I grab the attentions of owner CEOs, even though they may come from a higher class than me. I am fully aware, but I choose is not to be bound by my history. By the grace of God, I'm able to articulate with them skillfully. That's why I refuse to allow the highest position to intimidate me. Who am I? I am me. I am not defined by the sickness of my skin, my slim waist, my fat behind, my good hair. Man, Google that chick, you can find her type anywhere. Now, to the immature ear, I may appear to sound cocky. Nah, boo. It's just I've grown to realize that my gifts, my talents, my strive to be a strong, independent black woman makes me a threat to society. A threat because I'm coming up in the mindset of mediocrity. That as women, we settle from where we come from. If you think about it, ladies, that would actually make us dumb. Because African-American women paid the price with their lives so that we can overcome the stigma that being a black woman automatically makes us beneath. That as women, we only get our worth based off how well we're able to handle the ding-a-ling in between the sheets. That as black women, we do not know how to raise our children. That as black women, we remain illiterate. That as women, we remain to work for instead of striving to become the owners of the corner store. So excuse me because I chose to go against the grain as a proud black woman. My commitment, dedication, and loyalty to my relationship where I will not compromise my integrity nor lower my self-esteem by stepping out sexually on my marriage has absolutely nothing to do with how good that mind is to me. That is the woman I am designed to be. Who am I? I am me. I prefer to be that woman that men wants to know. Not to make me his side piece because he recognizes I won't fall for his game. Bro, you got enough females to scream out your name and make your body sing. When my phone rang, there was a purpose. He knows I'ma stimulate his brain. And if we ever connect together, then we got the power to produce change. Now don't think for a minute that my pride has told me that I am the only one. I'm sitting in a room full of women that know how to handle their business and get the job done. But at this moment, I feel led to degree who am I? I am me. So it never get confused. I do because of whom and whose I am. Not I am based off what I do. Any other reason will make me a fraud. You, I, all women, we represent God. And if we ever come together and stop hating on each other, we will not be able to be outdone. For there's an assignment on this earth to show the next generation of little girls living examples of Proverbs 31. Who am I? I am me, PoetLadiKi.
Already.
That
Chris,
was okay,
Chris,
okay.
do you see anything written down in front of her, by the way?
I was just about to bring that up. That was incredible.
Appreciate it.
That was
Very, very good. Very, very good.
The delivery, the message,
Let's give it up. Let's give it up.
Thank you.
That was incredible.
Very, very
was
impressive.
incredible.
And
Wow.
off the top of the dome, man. Now, when you're writing, you said it takes you a couple of weeks
For a book
for a book. What about when you're writing poetry?
session,
Just,
just write it.
yeah,
I
just
mean,
write
because
it.
it's by inspiration. I don't write just to write, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
Something has to trigger.
I wish I would have videotaped that, man.
Man, we for
Next
real.
time, next time.
Yeah, next time.
time.
Next time. I told
was-
Kisha
that
that
was incredible.
we want to have her come on again. That was incredible and very impressive. So I want you to talk about real quick, because we're getting close to time to wrap up.
Cool.
I think it's been obvious to us that your faith is a big inspiration for everything that you do.
Yes.
Talk about your faith and how important it is to all of these ventures that you've taken on.
Everything that I do is connected to my belief in God and my purpose and my standard, everything. And it hasn't always been this, where I'm comfortable and I can talk and I'm not religious. I was very religious at first. When I first got introduced to salvation or Christianity, and I know people hate being labeled, and I agree, because there's a lot of things that come with labels.
Yeah.
I have a relationship with God. I ain't religious.
Right.
I've been that. I've been the person that went to church 24/7. I've been the person that prayed all day and you didn't listen to music. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. I've lived all the rules of the Bible. Literally. Right. I'm talking about I had the full covering, no pants.
Yeah.
You name it, I did it. No makeup. I did all of that. No drinking, no meats, no, you name it.
Yeah.
I've lived that life. But in living that life, I was still struggling with mental illness. I was still struggling with the trauma of my past. I was still struggling. I'm going to church every day, jumping and shouting, but I'm bound. But I'm sad. Right. But I'm broke. But I'm struggling. Like, come on. You're telling me I'm saved and I can't pay my rent? What's up with that? There's something wrong. That just wasn't computing.
Right.
So eventually I walked away. I walked away from the church, and I stayed away from the church probably about 10 years, maybe so. Yeah. And in that course, I did everything I wanted to do. Without regrets. However, when God has a calling on your life, and because he loves us so much, he will chase you. So eventually he chased me down, and I started going back to the church. But this time with a different mindset. I didn't want religion. Religion did nothing for me. I wanted a relationship. I wanted principles. I wanted to know how to work and live and have heaven on earth.
Yes.
I wanted, you know what I'm
Preach.
saying?
People too worried about heaven in the sky. They don't make that heaven right here.
Yeah.
I refuse to believe that the only way that we can have prosperity and land for our children is to do something wrong. That don't make no sense to me. So no, I dug into relationship with God and falling in love with myself and just principles and morals and values for myself. And now I teach them to my children. My children know how to pray. They can pray for y'all. But at the same time, they know about credit score too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they can. They can speak a scripture. They can do all that. But they will be able to tell you that they need to save their money.
Yes.
And we make them do that. If we give them $50, they pay their little 5-10%, then they got to keep some for themselves.
Yeah.
Just life in general. Not just going to church, jumping and shouting, but then when you walk out the door, you don't speak to people.
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
And have nothing to show for the life that you're living right now.
Like, that's garbage.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that. I don't
think that's what God wants for people either.
He doesn't.
To be so focused on whatever you think your reward is at the end.
No, he doesn't.
To not live your life here and now.
I don't believe,
and make the best
because
of it.
It's too many stories in the Bible where people was prosperous for that to be the case.
True.
If God's whole will for us was for us to just die and just be sad our whole life and then go to heaven, then his Bible would have said that. That's not what it says. There's kings, there's queens, there's money, there's legacies, there's land. There's so much in there. And I've always tell people, and I still believe it, every principle that they work in the world that works, it's in the Bible. They just reword it.
Yeah.
It's there. Even like the 7-year debt release. Like, like after 7 years, something that's on your credit, it can be released. That's in the Bible.
7.
That is
completion.
That's in the Bible. They got that from the Bible. Like all of this stuff, these principles that work on the earth is from God's word. But the church get a bad rep because of hypocrites. But here's the problem with that. And I 100% agree on that, hypocrites. But we all are hypocrites.
Yeah.
Every last one of us. Every last one of us do something contrary every day of our life. It may not be the same thing, but it's something.
Yeah.
And as long as we sit high and look low, then we'll never be able to come together. And here's my problem with sitting high and look low at people. We're not answering for nobody else. When we die, you are answering for yourself.
Preach.
So we could care less what somebody else is doing. And that's another thing I feel like why the church get a bad rep, because it comes off as judgmental. And for some it is. I was judged at the church while in the church, while serving. You know what I'm talking about? I know you. I know. That's why I love your wife. Yeah, she helps you. Like, I remember me and Nick used to have arguments about Christmas. You know?
Yeah.
And now when I see the pictures of him celebrating Christmas, I'm like, yes! Yes!
Yeah.
Enjoy your family, Nick.
Yeah.
Yes!
Yeah.
You know, so I love her. Ooh,
it took on a completely different way of life and attitude.
Yes. Because God did not have us here not to enjoy our family. I don't believe that. I refuse to believe that I'm supposed to live my life in pain just to say I'm saved.
Yes.
That's not what he said. And so I believe the churches get a bad rep, but my encouragement to anybody that's listening that has been burnt, because especially at these poetry shows, I hear a lot of people saying, I don't want to hear nothing about God. I don't want to hear about God, which is fine. It's your right. However, have your own experience with him. Don't do it off of what people have told you or saw, because there's always going to be bad people. Always. Not just in the church, on the job, but you don't stop going to work.
Right.
You know,
Of course.
You know, so don't do it based off that. Do it based off your own relationship. Learn him for yourself. Study the word for yourself. Try the principles for yourself. That's the difference. Religion and relationship. Relationship is intimacy, knowing God for yourself and living your journey. And I promise that is a beautiful journey, because me and my husband, our marriage works so well because we literally work our life off the principles of God. If it's in the word, that's how we work our marriage.
Right.
And it works. Training our children. That's what's wrong with this generation. Train them. Not social media train them.
Yes.
Us train them.
Yeah, of course.
Don't be okay with everything that your children do.
Right.
We're not their friends.
Yeah.
We're their parents. You know, I just feel like, for me, I can't speak for nobody else. For me, my journey with God has been up and down. There was times when I did not like him. There was time when I thought that he did not exist anymore. There was time when I never ever wanted to see another scripture a day in my life. But I had to remember something. He gave me this beautiful thing called choice.
Yes.
So we can't blame God for our choices. And once I became accountable to my choices, my life changed.
Awesome.
It did.
Wow.
Kisha, we are so grateful that you decided to join us. Anything that she's saying right now, we've probably said, but she just says it so much better.
Nah.
Yeah,
Just a
she
different
says
voice.
it so much better.
voice.
So much better.
Yeah.
We're so appreciative that you came on. I told you I've been hype about this episode for the past 2 weeks, ready to do this. And I appreciate you coming here, speaking your truth, sharing your talent and your art with us.
I did have one question for you before we leave.
There we go.
And this is just silly, but publishing time.
Yes.
When you finish a book, how long does it take to get that book published?
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because now I'm no longer signed to a label.
Okay.
I own all the rights to my books. So my books are signed under Dynamic Lyrics. So everything is me. So basically the way it works is, if you want to own your own stuff, like independent, then just write your book. And then you get in contact with someone that can produce your cover for you. And there's millions of artists that create art, cover art. So you find someone that can do cover art, pay for it, of course. And then you can either submit your manuscript to someone, or you can self-publish yourself.
Really?
That's the new thing, man. That's even making music.
Even with music,
people are doing everything themselves now, because there's no overhead and there's no chance you're getting ripped off on a bad deal. You're just taking care of all of it yourself, man. You can copyright yourself.
So the difference is somebody else's. So when you get signed or published, is that the right terminology? They print the books for you. They front the money.
And they do everything. They do the distribution deal. They do everything.
And if you're self-published, you have to do all that yourself.
Right, which is true. The only challenge is, of course, connections. But with social media area, it's possible.
Oh,
You
yeah,
can network.
absolutely.
And then I think in Houston, this market is phenomenal.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it?
Good market.
Yeah, because you're doing a show that's downtown, right? On Scott Street. So what's the scene like? Is a lot of people doing what you're doing, or something similar?
No, it's a lot of, I think in this season, and especially in Houston, artists is where it's at.
Yeah, and now's the best time in history to do something like that. Be an entrepreneur, promote yourself because of technology, Facebook. I mean, that's what we do. So that's an amazing thing. Well, let's talk about that. Once again, let's let people know how to get a hold of your content. They can order your books on Amazon.
Yes. You can order my books on Amazon. It's under the name of the book, but also my name, Kisha Lott-Wells.
Lot with 2 T's.
Yes, sir. Lot with 2 T's, not PoetLadiKi. And then I also have shirts, and my shirts are Dynamic Woman. It just says, be the force that stimulates change. Then I also have some for the teenagers, and it says Dynamic Princess. I am the generation that will stimulate change. Then I also have some for little babies, the little princesses. And
little onesies.
Says, the little babies.
Okay.
And she says, the little girls, that she is the one that will stimulate change, just because I want to get the mindset that women we're powerful.
Yes, of
so we
course.
can do some things, and
Absolutely.
we can start. We don't have to be my age to do it. They can start young.
We are the proud father of girls, so
y'all already know.
we are right on with that.
Yes,
We are right on with
yes,
that.
yes,
And
yes.
those shirts are available on Amazon also.
No, those shirts are available through me. I usually sell them when I go out and do my shows or whatever. Or if you contact me, I'll ship them to you. But I will have a website soon.
Yes.
That way people can click and
Yes.
buy.
Okay, and you'll be back on to tell us about that as well. Okay,
Yes.
so we got your books, your T-shirts. How did they get a hold of tickets to your show?
Same concept. You contact me and you either can cash at me and I'll have this ticket for you at the show. It'll be available to you, or if I see you.
Okay.
You get
And you
tickets.
prefer people reach out to you by Facebook, Instagram, because you are at Dynamic Lyrics on Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram.
I don't want to throw your number out on the, this goes all over the world. So.
Right. Facebook, Instagram, or at my email, dynamiclyrics1 at yahoo.com.
At yahoo.com. Okay, write it down. Ladies and gentlemen, go see what this woman has to offer. You already got a little taste here on the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast. All right, speaking of social media, ladies and gentlemen, the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast is also on social media. To everyone who's been following us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, once again, we cannot thank you enough. Everyone who shared, everyone who's given us feedback, continue to do so, please. Let us know what it is you like about the show. If it's something you don't like about the show, let us know about that too. This is a podcast for the people, by the people. Kisha, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Yeah,
It
And
has
it's,
been a pleasure.
it's not going to be the last time, hopefully. And I can't wait to get you together with the fam. They might be out there waiting for us right now. Chris, you got anything to add before we get out of here?
That's it, brother.
All right. Well, thank you guys once again for listening. For our guest, Kisha Wells, my name's Nick Stevenson.
I'm Chris Clark, and we'll see y'all next time.
You've been listening to the Smells Like Middle-Aged Spirit podcast with Nick and Chris. For more show content, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.